Hi, dear students. Hope you are great. I'm Mrs. Safa Faris. I'm so glad to teach you today a new lesson. It's a writing lesson. Do you like writing? Writing is fun. And today we will learn together how to write a story. Are you ready? Let's start. Every story must have some parts. So again, every story must have some parts. What are the parts? Beginning. We have to have a beginning for the story, middle, and end. So again, every story must have some parts. Beginning, middle, and an end. Beginning. What do we have in the beginning of the story? Introduction. Okay. In the introduction, we can call it beginning or introduction. Both are correct. In the beginning, we have to introduce the characters. What are the characters? Characters are people, or maybe animals, or maybe plants that they are acting in the story. Can animals act? Yeah, in fiction stories, they can act. Okay, what else? Setting. What does it mean, setting, teacher? Setting, you know setting? Setting is where and when. Setting is what? Where and when. Where did the story happen? Of course, we have a place for the story. And when did it happen? Okay, so again, the characters are what in the beginning we have to introduce the characters of our story, the people they will act in the story, and the setting. And what does it mean, setting? It's where and when. When did the story happen? And when did the story happen? Where and when. Look at this. Can you see this story? We have, you can tell me the characters. What are the characters? We have animals and people in the characters. What about the setting? The setting, maybe it's near a pond. Okay, so what we have to write in the beginning of our story, the character and the setting, and maybe and of course the theme of the story. Middle, the middle of the story. In the middle of the story, something happens. Characters have a problem. Okay, you have to know that in every story we must have a problem. Can I write a story without a problem? No, you cannot. Every story must have a problem, and then characters will try to solve the problem. Okay, so again, middle of the story is the longest part of the story. You will find lots of details. You have to write lots of details. You have to write events in the middle of the story because something will happen, so will be the longest part. And characters will have a problem. It's a must. You have to write a problem in your story, and then the character will solve the problem. And what about the end? End, or you can say conclusion. We have to write in the end the conclusion, what happened at the end of the story. And we have to write ending sentence. Ending a sentence. In ending a sentence, you have to write the feelings of the characters. Were they happy at the end of the story? Were they sad? Did they enjoy their day or not? Something like that. So here, again, that we have, let's say it one more time. In any story, we must have what? Beginning, middle, and an end. In the beginning, I have to introduce my characters and the setting of my story. Then in the middle, which is the longest part of the story, I have to what? To write a problem, to write events, and to write a problem, and then the characters will try to solve the problem. Then the end of the story, we have the conclusion, what happened at the end of the story, and then we have to write the ending sentence to write about the feelings of the feeling of the characters. So here, guys, I want you to look at this. So here we have to write a story about this picture. Here we have a story. Look at this picture and to try to figure out what is this. Look at I want you to look with me at the picture. Try to guess, what is this? I think it's a garden. It's a garden. Oh, so now I know the setting of my story. The setting of my story will be a garden, correct? I need the characters of my story. Yeah, I have here a boy, I have a girl, I have a man. But I have to give my characters names, yes? So I can say this is Nada, Ali, and Dad. So now I know what I should write in my beginning because I know the setting of my story, which is the garden, and I know the characters. I can introduce them. Okay, look here. I gave name to my characters, Nada and Ali, Dad, and I wrote garden just to help me when I'm writing, to help me writing my story quickly. And I looked here, yes, what is this? It's a sausages. We have grill, plastic swimming pool, we have grass, tree, plants, tennis racket, football. Now I have some ideas, I have some details I can write my story about. And then I have to think of a problem. Now I know what I will write in my beginning because I know the character and the setting. Now I will think of the middle of the story. I must have a problem. Okay, let's think together about the problem. Maybe it rained heavily and they couldn't continue the day. Maybe their dog came and they ate the sausages and they couldn't eat. Maybe. Okay, so now I know I can choose a problem and write it about it. So let's now start together writing the story. I have to give my story a title. I will write it at the end. It's okay. When I finish, I can write it at the end, or I can write it at the beginning. From the picture, I can guess that they are having fun in the garden. So I can, for example, give it a name like a fun day in the garden. Okay, I will write it later. So here we write the first letter of our story. Last Friday. Last Friday, this is what? When. So now it's a sitting. Nada, and after last Friday, don't forget to write the comma. Nada, Ali, and their dad. Did you notice something, guys? That Nada and Ali, they are names. So, yes, we have to write the first letter in capital. Correct. And their dad spent a nice day in their garden. Oh, look at that. We wrote together the setting of our story and the characters. So here, this is the beginning of my story. We wrote what together? We wrote the setting of the story, which is the garden. And last Friday, this is the setting, and we wrote the characters. The garden had green grass, plants, and a big tree. I added some details. Can you remember the picture? We wrote some details. We wrote some things. We said that this is green and plants and tree. So we wrote another sentence. The garden had green grass, plants, and a big tree. When I write something like this, my reader can imagine my story. Okay, now he can imagine that this garden is so beautiful because it had green grass and the plants and the big tree. Okay, so we wrote the introduction or the beginning of our story. Now we will start writing in the middle of the story, which is what? Yes, the longest part of the story. Ali and Nada played in the pool. Can you remember the picture? They were splashing water and they are playing in the plastic pool. So here, Ali and Nada played in the pool. And don't forget that this is a story and it happened and finished. So we have to write it in the past simple, okay, or past continuous. We took past simple, so did you notice? Played. Ali and Nada played in the pool. Also, I wanted to add more details from the picture, so I wrote what? Also, but don't forget the comma. And when we started a new sentence, we started it by correct capital letter. Also, they played with a football and a tennis racket. Their dad cooked sausages on the grill. They had lots of fun. Yes, they had lots of fun. Suddenly, oh, what happened? Suddenly, the wind blew the football away. So, this is what? A problem. Because our characters, they couldn't play anymore. Yes, they cannot. They don't have now the football. So suddenly the wind blew the football away. It got stuck in the tree. So what do you think? Do you think that the characters will cry or they will try to solve that problem? Let's see. Ali tried to get it, but it was too high. Now Ali, one of the characters, he is trying to solve the problem. The kids became sad. Why? Because they cannot continue playing with the football. The kids became sad. Their dad took a long stick and got the ball down. So now, what do you think? The characters solved the problem. Nada and Ali cheered. They became happy again. They thanked their dad. As you can see, we wrote now together the middle of the story, which is, look, it's the longest part of the story. We wrote some events, we wrote details, and then we wrote a problem, and then we wrote the solution for the problem. They played again. This is the ending of the story. They played again. Then they ate the yummy sausages. They enjoyed the rest of their day in the garden. And now we wrote what? We read the conclusion of our sentence. We wrote what happened at the end of the story. They played again. And we wrote about their feeling. They enjoyed. They were happy for the rest of their day. And now we finished our story. Now I want you to see it as a whole story. Look at this. So here we gave it a title because I said we should give our story a title. The title of our story will be A Fun Day in the Garden. Look at this. It's what? Capital letter, capital letter, capital letter. And this is capital letter. So I have to write my title in capital. Okay, so A Fun Day in the Garden. Last Friday, Nada, Ali, and their dad spent a nice day in their garden. The garden had green grass, plants, and a big tree. As you can see, this is what the introduction or the beginning of my story. Then after that, the other part is what? Yes, the middle of the story, the longest part of the story. So here, Ali and Nada played in the pool. Also, they played with the football and a tennis racket. Their dad cooked sausages on the grill. They had lots of fun. Can you see the yellow part of our story? It's what the problem. Correct. Suddenly, the wind blew the football away. It got stuck in the tree. And then, what about the green part? Yes, it's the solution. The characters tried to solve the problem and they did. Ali tried to get it, but it was too high. The kids became sad. Their dad took a long stick and got the ball down. Nada and Ali cheered. They thanked their dad. And now, what about the end of the story? This is the ending, the last part, the conclusion. They played again. Then they ate the yummy sausages. They enjoyed the rest of their day in the garden. Okay, so we wrote about their feelings at the end of the story. Okay guys, so we learned today how to write a story. I think it became very simple and easy. Now I want you to look at any picture in your in any story or in any book or any picture and try to write a story with your own, and don't forget to watch the video first and then try to write a story by your own self. Okay guys, thank you for today. Goodbye.